Hey there, friends. Today's guest is Jaci Mrozek, but most people call her Jackie. She's a piano teacher, presenter, and host of the Scrappy Piano Teacher Podcast. Jackie helps independent music teachers build more sustainable, profitable studios by helping them understand the why behind the decisions they make and how to build the systems that make those decisions work for them. Through her podcast, workbooks, cohorts, and teacher programs, Jackie is one of the most practical, grounded, and energetic voices in the music education space I know. I've been looking forward to this one. Jackie, welcome to the 440. How are you doing today?
I am great. Thank you for having me, Eric.
Oh, I'm so glad that you're here. I've been listening to your podcast and really enjoying it, really enjoying the format, really enjoying how much energy you put behind your topics. And I know that right now you're getting ready to embark on taking a radical sabbatical, if you will.
A radical sabbatical. I love that. I want that like on a t-shirt.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell us
Yes,
about that and the timing of it.
So, I just decided last year that I don't think I'm ever going to teach during the month of May ever again. I think I'm done. So, we do our recitals the end of April. And after that, I love to have a week of lessons where we do a lot of reflecting on recitals and we talk about goals and all of that kind of fun stuff. But after that, May is a rough month around here because we're all busy. It's hard to get students to practice. The parents seem really tired. I have kids of my own and I like to do stuff with them. And I don't know, last year I just decided, I thought, you know what? I don't know why I'm doing this. And I told my husband, I said, I don't think I'm going to teach in May anymore. And he's like, can you do that? And I said, why not? It's my business. I can do that, right? So here we are. I'm on a 12-month schedule with my studio, and I gave myself a little bit of a raise last year, but my big raise was adding a couple weeks off, which is May. So yeah, this is the last week of April. This is our last week of lessons. Next week, I was telling you before we recorded, we're going to do some piano parties where we just throw water balloons at each other and rhythm games. And then we are done until summer.
There are a million questions and ideas. One I love everything about this because as I was listening to you talk about taking this time off, I know myself, being a music teacher forever, scheduling time in your business is much easier said than done to take off. Where it's like to actually do it, to give yourself that break. I love this. It's such a good idea. And you mentioned I gave myself a little raise, but the real raise is I gave myself some time off. And so this is the first year you've done this? This is a new thing you're
Yeah. I mean, I've taken a little bit more time off through the years. Like I have a fall break now. That was new. I now take a 2-week break off at springtime. During spring break so I can do the MTNA conference and that kind of thing. But yeah, May is new for me.
And May is a natural time for you in your cycle with recitals and end of school year when with your family, you can use that time. I think if you ask a lot of music teachers, which months are your toughest? Often it's around the holidays. Often it's July and August just because there's so much attrition, like there's so many people on vacation, so many people missing lessons. That seems like a natural time to take off too. What do you do during the summer? Do you
That's
stay
a great
pretty
question.
busy?
Yeah, yes and no. I give them a choice. So, like I said, I do a 12-month even billing schedule. So I'm still getting paid. Everything is fair to the students as well. And I give them a choice for summer. Either they can do a 4-day camp or they can do 8 weeks of lessons, but they get to choose their time. So I just throw up all my availability on the calendar and then they go in on their own and they grab the slots themselves. It's kind of a first come, first serve, but I put more than enough on there. So some students will be coming 2 times a week during the month of June and they'll knock out all 8 of their lessons within 4 weeks. Some people like to spread it out. So I give them a lot to choose from, but what ends up happening is my summer becomes a lot lighter. And then they're not struggling to fit my schedule. I'm respecting their schedule too, right? Because everybody's summer is crazy. And that just keeps the ball rolling. And I've noticed that it keeps my retention up in the summer as well by giving them those options.
Yeah, I in every episode I try to extract the DNA of what makes a studio click. And I feel like you've already those secrets that we can steal and borrow from. And I'm I feel like you've already kind of given it all,
Yeah.
which is this. You mentioned the parties that you're having. At the end, you have this seasonality. You work up to a recital. The recital goes great. It's a marketing moment for you, and your families are really happy. There's a natural break that can come after that. But before you have an unwind week. That's a new thing. I haven't really a reflection and unwind week. I'm just hearing like
Oh, yeah.
lots. I'm hearing lots of value, and I'm hearing lots of you sound with it, but not too laid back and laid back. Like it sounds like you have there's a Zen thing where you're like, I'm really enjoying this. And this is now time for me to rest, but it's also time for my students to regroup and maybe go do something else and enjoy the end of their year. And then, yeah, we'll have summer be more relaxed, but that'll allow me to be more open in scheduling for what works with you. And then, of course, you come back into that seasonality in the fall when things get wild again. It just sounds like you've got a system that really works for you and your families where they're having a great time. And so they're not thinking, because when you were saying this, I was imagining myself being a lot of the piano teachers we love and know at MTNA we run into. And I
Hmm.
can hear what they would say well, that would never work for me.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
because I can't do the round the year billing because what if I miss a lesson and they're counting and I promised them 42 lessons and now they're only getting 41. And there's a lot of self doubt in the piano teacher community, and I know you work a lot too to support them through that through your podcast and your cohorts and things like that. But do you hear a lot about that? What I'm
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Lots of doubt. And I don't blame them. I mean, I still have it too. I actually was telling my husband just the other day, I said, I don't feel like this is real. Like, I'm waiting for that one person to be really upset about May, but nobody's upset yet. And I feel like it's been communicated pretty well. But I think we all have experiences through our journeys where we have gotten that pushback from parents. I had a mom and she used to meticulously go through my schedule. I remember she was Thursdays. Her lessons were on Thursdays. And I remember her asking me how I plan to accommodate my Monday students on Monday holidays. And I'm thinking to myself, what do you care? But I think we all have these parents that like to maybe, check on us. And it is a lot of money to have lessons, so it is an investment and I can give them some grace in that. But I think that that kind of causes us teachers to really hesitate to maybe I don't know if I want to say stick up for ourselves, but to really hold hard on we have life too. If I'm burned out, and you were talking about like busy seasons, right? For a lot of people, I took a poll once and the most burnout that teachers seem to experience tends to happen in March, April, and May. And I know for me, it's in May. Like I'm getting at my point. Like I'm done. And I think that if we are taking care of ourselves and we're holding tight to that, like, no, I have to get paid. I have to pay my bills. I have to have this time. I'm going to be able to serve your children, my students, so much better in the long run, right? By doing that. And I'm getting a little bit off topic, but
oh
I do think that a lot of teachers feel like they would never be able to do it. But the thing of it is you don't know until you try, and you really can. I think that teachers struggle the most with how. Like, how do I get started? And that's what we talk about a lot in my cohorts and the masterminds and stuff is like taking these initial steps because you can do it. It's your business, right? Like we do this because we love it, but this is also a business and you get to be in charge.
I wonder if because I do love how every studio you talk to has its own unique things about it and its own things that work for the teacher and their community and where they are and who they serve. But I wonder if we're talking about the business side of it and sticking up for it. I wonder if it's the legwork is making it so joyful and energetic and really fun and doing the great work in the studio to where the parents leave that recital. The last thing they're thinking about is, nitpicking over getting certain lessons or why they're not getting all their lessons in May. And that way, and I have never thought about this until just now talking to you, but it seems like the people that are really in flow and just like, oh my gosh, I'm so here for your kid and we're having so much fun and look how successful your kid is. I can't believe they did it. Your pictures turned out great. I'll see you in June. And the parents are just like, whoa, this is great. I think there's, as opposed to having to say in the 1st of May, being like, wow, I didn't know if they were going to keep going. And now we have this break. And we should probably talk about that because I don't know if they should take time off because they're not doing, I think that a lot of what you do up front is actually maybe even above the business. It's actually what you're doing in the business, in the day to day as a human.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is funny because I was thinking about this before we logged on because just this week, so it's Thursday that we're recording this. This is my last real day of teaching for the whole year. Oh my gosh. Sorry, I just now realized that. So yay, I only have a few more lessons today. But as we were going through lessons, we have this evaluation in the fall. It's a technical skills evaluation, which has shocked me that this is my students' favorite evaluation. And we're talking just like scales and pentascales and chords. And these kids love this evaluation of all things. It's very local to me where I live, but we are talking about what they are going to be doing next fall. So we're actually already putting into place like, okay, what events do you want to do? You want to do this? Let's go for the senior ribbon. Let's go for this. So they're already planning, and we're very intentional on planning for the next year so that they know, hey, this is coming. We have plans. And I find that helps with retention because it's not saying, oh, the recital's done. We're done. We're taking off in the month of May. I hope to see you guys in June. I mean, we're making it very intentional where we already have goals for next year and we're not even done with the school year yet. So usually that keeps them to stick around too.
That is awesome. And
Mm-hmm.
you said the evaluations are to your area. Is that within your local MTNA or is that within your studio or something that people are doing in Cincinnati?
Yeah, it's actually, it's not the MTNA. It's a very small teacher group. There's probably 10 teachers in our area, but they've been doing this for about 20, 30 years. So we
Wow.
I know it's really, really cool. It's just a technical skills evaluation. It's called piano gymnastics. So the students do these different events. And once they finally get to the senior levels, they get a plaque. That seems to be the draw right there is they get a plaque because how many things do we get to do these days where you get a fancy plaque with your name on it? But it takes some years to get to it. And boy, when I hand those plaques to my high schoolers at recitals and they see that, these kids are they're into it. And it's optional. All my events in the studio are optional except for my spring recital. And I have to tell you, almost everyone does this technical skills evaluation. It's crazy.
Wait, so you do
Who
events
knew?
aside from recitals, and
Yeah.
this group of teachers and the program. Did you make the program up, or is it with the 10 of you, or is it something that exists in its own?
That existed, I think they started back in the 80s. This
Oh,
small group has been around forever. And actually, Elizabeth Swift is the one who brought me into this group. And because there was an evaluation that was local to us that was ending about 10 or so years ago. And I was like, man, I don't know what to do, with my students. And she's like, oh, come and join this group. So it's really small, but we just keep it going. And yeah, so it works really nice. And I think there's a lot of power to that because, a lot of teachers that maybe aren't close to their associations or feel like they're far away from a community,
mm.
like if you can find even just a couple of teachers close to you that want to do a few things, like you guys can just throw your own stuff. We really have a lot more freedom than we give ourselves, for sure.
And do you adjudicate together? Is that
Mhm,
how you bring
mhm.
your
Yeah, we
students?
do for this event. This is our main money-making event. It's really cheap. Well, I think I want to say it's $4 per event. So let's say that you are going to do the junior level pentascales and major and minor chords. So it's like $8. You go in, you get 2 ribbons, you get a ribbon for each of them. And then, the following year, maybe you do some other events. And so they build up until the senior levels, which is like the whole shebang. And once they get all the senior levels, that's when they get their plaque.
and this is all technical work, but
Hmm.
the students, you found a way to make students look forward to doing technical work because they could get a plaque someday if they work really
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to take credit for it, but I can't. But
But
they
being
do.
a part of it,
Yeah, when I joined, I have to be honest with you, I was like, what is this? And I remember going and being all like, because a lot of my students do the Royal Conservatory of Music, and I was like, well, what is the tempo? Blah 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 blah. And it was almost too laid back for me. I thought, oh, come on, like how serious can we be? And it's amazing. I mean, my students just they love it, and we all know that the more you know the technical skills, the better you'll be able to play all your
of course.
pieces and just all the things music. So, yeah, no, my students have I mean, the benefits have been amazing. So, it's great.
And before you leave because I think people are going to be listening to this, and I hope a lot of it is just really unlocking things to be creative in your own space and how you do things. But the theme is before you take this break, you do you practice some real intentionality about what's coming next. You've got other events that aren't just performance opportunities, but things to work towards that are long
Yeah.
term, that's putting that in their mind as part of their journey. And I think to get nerdy about, I think in the customer mindset, how they're viewing it, they're seeing it much more holistically and as a long-term process. And maybe, because I know that I see rest and breaks as part of growth. Walking
Yes.
away and not practicing really hard for a couple weeks is really healthy to help to make sure that, you're going to remain doing what you want to do and continuing to practice and staying in music. So I really love that. And you said you did a survey and found that most teachers were burned out this time of year, and I would definitely agree with that. Were you recommending I think I picked this up, to prepare, to know that that's coming, and just say, hey, emotionally, I know that around April I'm probably going to start feeling this, so I'm going to put this plan in place for April and May to buoy my spirits through that time. Did I pick up that right? I kind of
Oh yeah, no, I'm huge on that. I think it's because I'm just tired of being tired. And I've raised teenagers. I have two lovely young adults, but we went through the whole growing up phases and having to balance family and different seasons of your life while running a studio. I think it's really important to recognize when things get really heavy for you. I mean, not just even the months, like even the days of the week. There's something for me with Wednesdays. I don't know what it is about Wednesdays, but I am like pooped. I am so exhausted when it comes to Wednesdays. And so I purposely, when I am scheduling the following year, Wednesdays are my lightest days. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I can rock and roll. So it's looking at the big picture, like, okay, when did I struggle the most? And why did I struggle the most? Was something going on at home? Or is this something that's continuously happening? Or does it just happen to happen after a big event like a recital? Because recitals are a lot of work. We're pretty tired afterwards, right? So, taking a look at that and really planning out your calendar year around that, I think is really important. And like I said before, giving yourself these breaks, that is a raise in itself. And I think that if you're working for a company, a big bonus can be getting a good vacation package, right? Like we can give ourselves vacation packages too. So I love to work all that in.
And when you did announce this and you were worried that maybe a teacher or a parent would push back, did anybody care?
No,
They never
no, they
do.
didn't. Now I didn't have to do this, but I did put together like an asynchronous type package. Actually, we did a summer camp type thing, and Jennifer Fox was talking about it, and I was like, oh, that's a really good idea. So I am putting together for the students. They've got some boom cards. I don't know if you're familiar with boom cards. They've got some, like, just some assigned. I've got their technical skills for the following year that they can get a head start on, and then I have some studio license of collections of music that's a little bit easier for them that they can probably learn on their own. So I am giving them some stuff that they can go through if they want to, or if mom really wants them to go through some stuff, but they don't have to. Because the moment that I make it a requirement is the moment that I get really resentful that they don't do it. And
Oh,
the whole purpose of this break is for if they need a break, then they get it too. Like, enjoy your May, enjoy the last few weeks of school. You will never be this age again. You will never be a kid again. So just enjoy these times. And if you want to practice and you want to do this, great. And if not, then we will pick it back up when you come back in the summer.
and so June, will this be your same schedule? I know people are thinking, everyone's asking, I can imagine the questions people are asking. So when do you just start right back up in June, or are you then in that summer calendar where people are booking lessons with you?
We're in the summer calendar. So
So it's
some
a different
students
one.
are only, yeah, some are only coming to a camp. And so they will get a little bit bigger of a packet so that they can like work over the summer if
Hmm.
they want to. Do I expect them to? I mean, I would say it's like 50-50 that they will. But I'm going to give them a little bit more. But the students who are going to come for their 8 lessons, we're just going to continue lessons. I kind of thought about that today. I was thinking like, maybe we'll work on a special summer project, or maybe we'll do this. And, I don't know. Maybe when they come in lessons, we'll just pick one big fun piece to work on, or maybe we'll do normal stuff.
But as for now, so like the person that you had Tuesday at 3 will not come Tuesday at 3 the first week of June unless they schedule it. It's
Oh,
not just
yes.
assume
No.
they'll show up again.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That schedule starts again in September.
Yes.
So,
Yes. And
okay.
yeah, I'll do a new registration
Oh,
and a
okay.
new, yeah. So we will have a new schedule, but it will be set for the whole year.
Yeah, I'm really trying to work backwards because whenever I meet somebody that does it, because I'm such a big fan of the year-round flat rate tuition type thing and making it work. And there's so many ways that people do it. And what I love about your ways, it seems to just breed a lot of trust and a lot of comfort from your families. No one's pushing back on it. I know that a lot of people, when they hear about it, right about now, they think they just almost announce it. All my families are just going to stop paying me for May, June, and July and August, and then come back in September. I think it's because you begin this registration process in September where you're very clear about what this means. Am I right about that? Your year starts in September.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, and I, parents still look at it as a 9-month thing, even if it is a 12-month thing. I think in their minds, they're still thinking like, well, what am I really going to do for
Oh,
summer where we're like, we need to get paid, like we need to pay our bills. So I do tell them up front, if you take off for the summer, you take off, but I'm not going to hold your spot. I do have a wait list, and they get it because it happens. Fall will come, and then people who did leave for the summer want to come back, and I'm like, sorry, like I don't have a spot, which is hard because I've actually turned away students that I've had for years. So I do
oh,
make it very clear that if they leave and they take that summer off, there's a very good chance they're not getting that spot back. And I think that they understand that. I think that they hear that, they get it. So I don't really have a problem anymore
gr-
with that.
great. I'm sorry to dig in so far, but it's really interesting.
No, you're fine.
What I was hearing you say, and that I think can really benefit everybody, is setting the expectation from the beginning and
Yeah.
announcing that, communicating it throughout the year to when you get to the summer, the parents know what it's supposed to be. And if they opt to not follow the agreement, they stand to lose their spot, right? And
Yeah.
that's totally fair. I love this year-round model. I love that Jackie gets to eat in the summer. I think that's so great.
I love that too. I
That's
think too, it's like getting them to understand that this isn't a hobby. This is our livelihoods, and really attracting families that are good with that. I think that some people are really afraid to raise their rates because they're going to scare people off in the future. And I find it to be just the opposite. You tend to attract the families that do respect you as a business owner and understand that you love music, but this is not a hobby of yours. You are not like this glorified babysitter, like you are running a business. You are really trying to nurture their musical growth and their education and carry the legacy on of music in this crazy world where, who knows what's going to happen, but we know that we'll always have music, right? And so we want to really be there for our students. And so I think that when you take your studio very seriously as a business and you treat it that way first and you charge accordingly, you're going to attract those kind of families, and then you're really going to have less problems in the future.
How much would you say? Because you keep coming back to this community that you have there, these 10 teachers, and I love that. And I also know that you hang out with Elizabeth Swift, who I'm a huge fan of, and you've got this dream team community. How helpful is that? I just think I don't have that as a guitar teacher here in Seattle. But it just sounds
Man.
so cool.
It is. I have to say, it's really amazing. And I didn't know how fortunate we were until I started going to conferences and really connecting with teachers over Instagram and all the online space and doing masterminds and all these teachers who are like, I am so alone. And I love the fact that we have podcasts. Like what you're doing is just huge. Like you're connecting teachers. Fonz is connecting teachers. I have to give you a shout out, by the way. I just recently joined your Fonz Facebook group, and it is the most beautiful, supportive group of teachers. Like I love the conversations that go on in there. And so I just wanted to give you a quick shout out because not the groups are like that. So it's really a lovely group. So, having this community, I had no idea that where I'm located, we are so fortunate to have so many teachers, because you would think we'd be really competitive because it's pretty congested. I mean, we have a lot of teachers where we're at, but it's really just not that way. We're all very supportive of each other. And sometimes I wonder if that's why we have such a successful musical community. I don't know, but that's a really real thing. So I'm curious, I'm going to ask you a question if that's okay, since we're talking about this. In Seattle, not many guitar teachers. Is that why you have dove in? You have, what's the word I'm looking for? You have just really submerged yourself with online and connecting with other people to find that community?
That's a great question. I think, well, I'm really involved with MTNA in Seattle. But those are all
Okay.
piano teachers. So it's much more community than it is based pedagogy. And
Gotcha.
so guitar is really disparate because I am a classical guitar teacher, but I play modern and most styles of guitar, and they're all really different. Like your average guitar teacher might not use a method. They might use a Hal Leonard or an Alfred method book with their students. There's not the same kind of backbone and journey that piano students have in general. I mean, there
Yeah.
is, but it's just not used the same. The guitar community is really different. So I sought a lot of community from MTNA. And yes, I love teaching online, but I've just found the guitar journey as being a guitar teacher. The community's it's not the same way. There's not like a organization of guitar teachers that get together. I joined the board. I'm really excited about this. I just joined the board of directors for the Guitar Foundation of America, which is the
Oh,
big classical guitar
awesome.
organization. And a lot of their focus, their intent is really research based. And there's like really high level research. There's really great historical research, technical research being done. Less of, hey, let's bro out and talk about how to get through this summer and how to, build our studios and things like that. At least from what I've seen so far, it's just a real different thing. So I think that's what's attracted me to this community of being online, and it happened naturally too through building Fonz. And thanks for that shout
Mm.
out too.
No, but I love that. I love that. Like you are craving that community because even though you're teaching guitar and I'm teaching piano, we are still running our music studios. And so it's the same idea. So
Exactly. And
yeah.
my guitar studio runs a lot like your piano studio. I do big summer recitals called the Guitar Barbecue, and I love doing summer camps and things like that. So I've developed my things
Wait,
over
hold
the
on.
years.
Guitar barbecue?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So the
Oh my
guitar,
gosh.
that's my big summer recital, which is, when I first started teaching, no one came to my recitals. I had, just a handful of kids would play. They were all scared. And I was like, man,
Yeah.
I'm from the South. I can cook really well. I'll just make a bunch of, barbecue and see if anybody shows up and do it outside. And like 180 people showed up the first year that I
Oh,
did it. And so,
did
and
you have enough food?
yeah, of course,
Good.
always. Yeah. And then, I found that was like your most recent podcast episode. I was really appreciating that about how recitals is marketing. That was my only marketing budget. And I wish I would have heard what you were talking about in that episode. It was a different time when that started. That idea of this is the time to get your Google reviews. This is the time to really not just have people share their social media, but do it mindfully because it is the most impactful marketing moment I think that we have in the year. I mean, would you agree?
Oh yeah, it's like our big game, you know? Like this is the thing that I mean, I guess it's like a thing in my house where they're like, stay out of mom's way. It's recital week. So I don't know if I'm
Ooh.
like grumpy or something, but I think it's like it's our big thing, you know? We're not just so proud of these students. We're saying goodbye to some of our students. Like I had a senior that left, and I do pretty good at my recitals of keeping it together when I talk about my recitals, but I really struggle. Like even now, I'm like, oh my gosh, my senior. But like we're saying goodbye to students, you know, like we're celebrating them. But then also us, like I think as time goes by, like we forget all the hard work that we've done. And when I was this is the first year I got to do slides. I've never been in an event venue where they let me do a slideshow, and I've always been so bitterly jealous of all these beautiful slideshows on social media, and I finally got to have one. And so when I was putting it together, I was going through the entire school year, and I'm like, holy cow, we have done so much. Like we have done so much work, but you forget because you're always in the moment. And so having these recitals to remind them, like, look at how far you've come. Like, look at what you were doing in August and September, and look at what you can play now. I mean, it's just such a celebration. And I think it's the perfect time to remind them and the parents, like, this is why you're doing what you're doing. This is why we're going to keep going. And this is why you're coming back in the fall. So
I
it's
love,
a
well,
great marketing.
this is the second time that you've mentioned reflection, your week of
Yeah.
reflection after the recital. And we're really seeing this pattern where you're not just having students look ahead and be like, this is what you can look forward to. You're also creating emotional energy by looking back and
Yeah.
allowing them to really take inventory of all the value and goodness they've gotten from working together over the year, which is
Yeah.
also that's charging that battery. And whether you're just doing it naturally or really intentionally, you're really charging the customer's battery just constantly, right? And maybe that's just your vibe. That's who you are. But these are things that are recreatable. Is to be like, yeah,
Yeah.
the slideshow actually really does serves a purpose that I think would also impact retention probably just as much as looking to what you're going to be doing in the fall. It's just
Exactly.
creating this overall experience. And I wanted to jump and make sure we had time to talk about these cohorts you work with because you not just teach students you and run the podcast, but you take this information and you work with other teachers.
Yeah.
So tell me about that a little bit and what that looks like.
Yeah. So, oh my gosh, I love our cohorts. I keep them small because I really want to create community. I want teachers to be able to have people that they can connect with forever, right? Like, even after we're done, if you need somebody to reach out to. I want you to be able to reach out to people that
Not just you, the people that
us,
you've been through
not
this
just
with.
me.
Got it.
Yeah. Which I love connecting with them. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, I might not always be able to answer too, right? So
And you're
I
building a
really
network.
like, yeah,
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 yeah. Okay,
yeah.
cool.
And so, but what we do is we dig really, really deep. I mean, I call it the policy triangle,
Ooh.
where, you know, thank you. I was very proud of that title. But it's kind of like we write these policies, right? Which I have to give a shout out to your book because I went through your book and it is just like, oh, it's just so good. It's so full of this stuff. But I think when I do the cohorts, we kind of work backwards. We go through their philosophy very in depth. Like, what is your current philosophy? And does that actually reflect reality? And it usually doesn't. a lot of times those philosophies were written in college or when they first started, and here they are like 15 years later. Their lives are just a little different from then. So we really go through the philosophy with a fine tooth comb, and then we go through time. We do a really in-depth time audit to really track what is going on. Like, when are you getting really burnt out through the day? Something I find with teachers is they do not take breaks, like, ever. I mean, they just teach straight through and they're exhausted. So we do a time audit through the whole week. And then we do, hold on, I'm trying to think. We do the philosophy, we do the time audit. Oh, and then we do a financial. I have this 36-page financial workbook that they have to do. It's very in-depth.
Ooh, you
And
get into the
it's,
numbers.
oh, we get into the numbers. And I have to tell you, this is a really hard thing for me
Yeah.
because I am not a naturally numbers gal. So I took a lot of time to go through this. And I just kind of make the assumption that the teachers I work with usually aren't either. I think that most of us, we just love music. The business end is like, ugh, gosh. So we really get deep into the numbers. And then we look at the policy. So we make the policy fit within this triangle of your realistic time, your realistic philosophy, how you want to be a teacher, how you want to teach, and then also how you want to pay your bills and feel like you are getting what you've been putting in. You want
I,
it to be sustainable.
yeah, I really appreciate how you're making it also approachable. Because I know when you talk about these topics, especially with music teachers, they have all this training, make all this impact. It just elicits so much shame, maybe fear. Like, once you start talking about that, then it's really tough to navigate that and have them not really pull away. And so to
Yeah.
be able to bring them in and have them be comfortable and relatable, and I think is a really powerful skill that you have. There was something else that I wanted to ask you when you were talking about the philosophy. And I was listening to another one of your podcast episodes recently. We were talking about the areas of genius, and you were
Mm.
especially lit up about this series. And I really pick up on, wow, she's like, that's even more Jackie energy than Jackie normally has. It's big energy. How much of the work that you do with teachers and in your own journey, and I think everybody's listening today, is, I would think one of your big themes is real self-awareness.
Yeah.
I get tired on Wednesdays. I teach all day long and I get really, after 4 hours, I need a break, or knowing that I'm feeling burned out. There's been times in my career where I don't even know that I'm burned out, right?
Yeah.
I don't know
No,
that it's
I know.
coming.
I know.
I'm just not being self-aware. And I feel like as I've been doing it longer, that's something I'm starting to work on. But this seems like a big part of your ethos is that you're teaching your cohorts how to be more self-aware of what actually matters to them. Is that where the philosophy piece comes from?
I think so. Yeah, I think going so I'm in my 28th year of teaching. I'm wrapping it up. I started really young, and it's kind of like learn as I go type thing. And I always put myself and my family at the very last, at the very bottom. And I think maybe, I don't know if it's maybe like having kids who have graduated and now, like, we have these great conversations, like these reflective conversations of growing up. And I look back and I'm like, man, you know what? Like, I could have done this. Like, I missed all this because I refused to budge on this, like, so it's more looking at it like, if I'm going to run my own business and do what I love, then I want to live a life that I love too. And I wonder, as you're talking about this, I don't really know where it comes from. I almost think it's more of that, like, where I'm thinking like, I just wasn't happy doing it and I was burned out all the time, but I didn't think I had a choice. But like, I do have a choice. I have a choice to take off May, right? I have a choice to raise my rates. I have a choice to bill for 12 months, or maybe not. Maybe you only, a teacher listening only has 10 students and they love taking the summer off and they could care less. Well, that's beautiful. That's great. They get to do that because it's their business. So that's what I really like to talk to teachers about is, like, what, and then like my last cohort, I had two girls who, they're recent newlyweds. So they're like kind of thinking ahead, like, okay, what's going to happen when I want to start a family? But I still want to be a teacher. And like, how do I
Oh,
work that out? So it's like, so we actually get some planning in there too, of how to balance this and do it. And I have to say kudos to them for doing it so young, like joining cohorts like this so young and so fresh out of school, which the cohorts aren't just for that, obviously. It's a mix. It seems to be teachers who've been teaching a really long time and they're
mhm.
like, something's got to change, or it's like brand new teachers. That's what I seem to get. But I have to say, I think that's amazing because think of where they're going to be at when they've been teaching as long as we have. We're going to be listening to their podcasts probably.
And if you're giving them that chance to pick up the wisdom that we've picked up after 25 years of doing this, allowing them to make the option to say, you can do this now. And
Yeah.
that's going to make a profound difference in their life. This is something we see. It feels like 1 in 10 people that come into our community or come into the Fonzoverse and they're just out of school and they just do all the things. They'll listen to a podcast like this and they'll be like, okay, I'll just do it. And then they do it. And then a year later, they'll write in and be like, oh my gosh, it all worked. And I'm buying a house. Whoever would have thought that would have happened? And it's so
Gosh.
gratifying. And I don't know if I could have done that right out of school. I needed to stumble around for a while and figure out my own thing, I guess. But I really appreciate the people that are like what you're doing, which it's not sounding scary, but it sounds really accessible. But it is still really based on fundamentals that not just respect the tradition of being a piano teacher and loving it, right? Because it's really easy to get into, I'm a business coach, and you need to like start using big words like EBITDA, LTV, and CAC. Okay, great. Now we're using big
Oh,
words.
no,
Like
no,
here
no,
we go.
no.
And it's intimidating. And I think it's really great to say, no, the thing you just said about it's your choice. Make this the life that you want and know yourself. That's a
Yeah.
great message, I feel like, as a guide. So how often do your cohorts run? When do you do those?
You know what? That's a great question. I have been tossing around probably in the fall, close to the beginning of the school year. I think I might be running another one. I'm going to be doing some workshops in the summer. I get questions about asynchronous lessons constantly. So I'm going to do some workshops on that. And then I'm going to do a policy workshop, which will be like more of the policy triangle. But the cohort itself, which is a 6-week program, where we meet once a week for 6 weeks. There is homework, and then we have a group Voxer, like the walkie-talkie app. We do that as well. So I don't know. I'm thinking maybe mid-August to early September when lessons are starting up. That seems when people have a little bit more pep in their step. They're kind of ready to go. I don't know. So to be determined right now.
Yeah, and it also, I think people think a lot about their policies and making changes. It seems like in those June, July months, as they're like, I'm sitting on the beach. I'm not doing that again. Or over the holidays is another good time. I feel like to
Yeah.
be like, I love getting some personal development over the holidays. Tell me about your async classes or your async teaching.
Oh, the asynchronous.
Mm.
So I don't do makeup lessons, but I build them into the tuition, and that's I feel like your book covers that too. I
I
think
think
you and
we're
I
I think we're
really,
really on the same page here.
I
After
really
listening, I
think
was
so
like,
too.
this is going to be the easiest interview. I pretty much were vibing. So yeah, but I wanted to make sure I
Yeah,
brought that
so
up, which is yeah, we don't no makeup lessons are necessary, but
yeah,
you offer.
we don't do that. Well, I feel like there's always those what if weeks, right? Like, or what now? That's what I should say. The what now weeks. So, example, and this probably happens where you're at. So, here in Ohio, I can teach Monday, Tuesday. It's beautiful, almost spring like weather. And then Wednesday, boom, we get like a blizzard, right? And you got to cancel lessons. And then suddenly I have flex weeks built in for me. But it's still like, well, should I just, okay, I guess we don't have to have lessons. We can do makeups. But anyway, but sometimes people aren't necessarily comfortable with just doing no makeups or whatever. So that's why I call it the what now. Like, what do I do now? Like, does this fall under any of these categories? So an asynchronous lesson pretty much is just any lesson that's not live. So it can look like me sending a checklist out to a student with maybe a few YouTube videos that would go along with what they're learning. It could be a recording of me sending it out to an entire age group that's all about improvising or composing or just something fun for that week. Maybe it's a composer. So those are async lessons. I have built a whole library, so it makes it really easy for me. We had a really rough, I don't know about you guys, we had a really rough winter this past year, and we had to take a lot of weird days off. So my asynchronous lessons really came into handy. And I think that's why I got so many questions on them, because people were like, I don't want to do all these makeup lessons. What do I do? I've got like weeks left over. Do I refund them? And the answer is no. So, but at the same time, you don't want to you want to enjoy your snow day too. You don't want to be, oh, that's another thing I should throw in. I don't like doing online lessons. I know that you do online lessons, and there's a lot of teachers who do. I just struggle with it, but it's probably because I don't do it normally.
Yeah.
So we always have these tech issues, and I don't know. I just prefer to, sit on my couch on snow days. That's just me. I don't want to work.
Well, that's awesome. And I love the concept of a what if lesson, because they do come up. And if you don't plan for it, it's going to leave you in a lurch. And to be able to have some way to, what you're now doing is you're not just knowing yourself, you're also knowing your customers. There's these moments of friction where I'm your student, and maybe we missed 2 weeks in a row, and I've never thought it before, but all of a sudden this thing creeps in my mind where it's like, we're paying Jackie for this, and we're going to be gone all the month of July. It's like these germs come into the brain of a customer, and you can feel it, and it's like a little bit like an edginess when next time you talk to them or something, and you're smoothing it out. And if you've been teaching long enough, you know what I'm talking about. It's like when it's
like that little vibe that you get.
It's the vibe where you're like, I know you're feeling something. You're feeling it, but you are preempting that emotion with being like, hey, it's Jackie, and here's your thing to do this week. And instead they're thinking, gosh, she is really on it. She's really got a plan, even for a day that we just got 11 inches of snow. I really like that a lot. And as we start to wrap this conversation up, and hopefully we can have more and do this again, I wanted to make sure to ask people here to check out your podcast. I've really been enjoying it, just listening to it, but also it's just a great shot of energy. Like it's just a good vibe. And so I really appreciate that. And so what is the best way for people to maybe connect with you, learn more about what you're doing? Is the podcast your preferred method, or is it through your website?
Yeah, the podcast. I mean, I'm pretty much Scrappy Piano Teacher everywhere. So, except for TikTok, that seems to be the one thing that I'm not doing, and that's okay with me. So, but on Instagram, you can always DM me. That one's actually Jaci Mrozek Piano, but if you type in Scrappy Piano Teacher, you'll find it. Same with Facebook. You can email me at Jaclyn, Jaclyn, at scrappypianoteacher.com. Or the podcast. So we're just the scrappy ones over here.
Yeah, I've really been enjoying it, and it was great to listen to it because I already knew you and we had chatted, but it was great to just kind of hear where your interests are and your thoughts are. It's a great podcast. Before we jump off, where did Scrappy Piano Teacher come from? Where did you get that name? It's great.
Well, it used to be the Music Teacher Mastermind. That's how I started, because I would do masterminds and I'd be like, oh, these are such great conversations. We should record these. But it turned into where I felt like I was having to use big words, like you were talking about earlier, like all that, like that professional kind of, which, we're professional, but that's just not me. And I always tease my husband because he does autocross racing with a really old Corvette. Yeah, we're going this weekend. It's like we are total opposites, let me tell you, because all I can tell you about his car is it's black and it's old and it's a Corvette. I know nothing. But he does this racing with these guys who spend all this money, and here's my husband in the garage like spray painting car parts and putting them back together. And so and I was a single mom for about 7 years before he and I got married. And so we always just have referred to each other as being scrappy people. Like we just kind of like we do what we got to do to make it work. And so I think it just came because I was thinking like, how would I describe my approach and how I want people to understand it's a comfortable place. And I feel like the scrappy just makes it comfortable for people.
Yeah, you're making it happen. There's some grit there along the way that was picked up. And a little bit of just can-doedness.
Yeah.
I'm going to figure it out.
I like that.
Well, Jackie, thank you so much. This was an amazing conversation. We should do it again. And I really appreciate you just sharing so much of your inner workings and how you see the world, and the energy is great. So thank you so much for being here today. I can't wait to chat again.
Okay, thank you, Eric.
Thanks. You've been listening to the 440 Podcast. If you found this helpful, subscribe at Spotify, Apple, or wherever you listen to podcasts, and leave a quick rating. It makes a big difference. To learn more about how to run your teaching studio with less stress and more joy, visit fonz.com. I'm Eric Branner. Thanks for being here.